A mighty berserker that can summon dragons to aid him in battle. Kaldheim is looking cooler and cooler. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. We are here today to talk about a brand new card from Kaldheim, and more specifically, to talk overall about dragons, all right? So, what we're going to do is we're going to start with some older cards and kind of build into the concept of today's card. Because to truly appreciate what it is you're looking at, having an understanding of what came before it in Magic is going to be very useful. Now, when it comes to dragons themselves, right, they are not exactly the height of power in fantasy, but in fantasy, they tend to be really close to the top. Gods and things like that are above them. They're way up there in the food chain, and humans are way down here, right? In normal everyday life, we're like king of the food chain unless a tiger gets its hand on you, right? But in the fantasy worlds, we're kind of like, oh no, I hope the other things don't come and get us and eat us, right? So the idea of a human somehow gaining the service of a dragon is really, really impressive, because why would a dragon bother to serve a human, right? There has to be something very special about that human. So I have a couple of cool cards we're going to talk about that specifically are humans that bring the dragons into play. But before we get into that, I do want to show you the first dragon token making card to give you kind of like a power gauge for where we've gone to now. So we're starting out with Dragon Roost, okay? So this is a 6 casting cost enchantment. It's 2 red and 4, originally printed in Onslaught, so in the long ago. And it's pay 2 red and 5, put a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying into play. Now, I remember when I saw this card, I was blown away. I was like, wow, you just put this out and you can just keep cranking dragon tokens? This is insane! Like, again, older standards for Magic, right? I mean, if you looked at this now, if they printed it now, this would excite dragon enthusiasts, but overall, I mean, imagine trying to play this card in Standard. Imagine trying to make this card work now. It just wouldn't work, right? But this is where we started with reusable dragon token generation. And the concept behind this card is actually really cool. The flavor text says, a powerful mage created the Roost to guard a portal between the planes. The mage is long gone, but dragons still keep watch at the gate. So first of all, the idea of an ancient portal that was created and is like situated inside the roost of a dragon, or roost of dragons, plural, where if you want to try and go and find this, you have to like brave the dangers of the dragons. That's a really cool concept. It looks like it's probably at like the tip of a volcano as well. But what's even cooler than this is the way that the whole concept comes across to me is you have found this planar portal and you know how to pull the dragons through it by feeding massive amounts of red mana into it, right? And so that opens up the portal and the dragons fly through it to where you are to aid you, which is a really, really cool flavor concept. But that's where we started for tokens. Let's move into talking about humans that are so impressive that they have been able to gain the service of dragons. So the first one that we got for that was actually in Rise of the Eldrazi with Dragon Master Outcast. It's only 1 red to put out. So 1 red for a 1/1. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 6 or more lands, put a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying onto the battlefield. You know what's funny is when I read this card, my brain went, whoa, they changed it to battlefield when Rise of the Eldrazi came out. I'm like, that was a decade ago. I've been playing Magic for so long that it's completely skewed my sense of time. And it's like, I still think of like changing it card, like tokens to coming onto the battlefield instead of entering play. Like I still feel like that's a recent change to Magic, but I realized it's been over a decade. So whatever. We've got this amazing concept because the Dragon Master Outcast is a human shaman. Now, when you read the flavor text, it says, cast out by my tribe, I'm a pariah trapped in this mammal's carcass. Only my true kin hear my cries. That's actually really cool. The idea that this shaman actually is somehow like linked to dragons. Although I do want to take a moment to say that when you read the flavor text, you could also view this as like the most ridiculous whiny otherkin posting on Tumblr where they're like, I have a dragon spirit and my mom doesn't understand me. Cast out by my tribe. I'm a pariah trapped in this mammal's carcass. Only my true kin hear my cries. Like, I feel like I could read that online from somebody who's like, I'm a dragon kin. But all that aside, this card is a really cool concept. This outcast from their own tribe has wandered around and like tuned into the mountains and somehow knows how to use the power of the mountains without actually drawing the mana from them to call dragons to her side. And just the pose of this, the stance where she's standing with her arms like this crazy looking dragon claw staff in her hand, right, like this, and at the same time you see a dragon soaring above, but there's another one coming from behind in the upper corner as well. So it's basically just like she's found a way to tune into the mountains and the dragons are flying overhead. She's got a connection to them. Like, dude, that's really cool. And you can see why as a planeswalker, you would want to bring someone like this like into your crew essentially and be like, yeah, I'm gonna summon you up because you know how to do all this goodness here, link up with the dragons. It's very, very efficient in terms of you invest 1 mana and you can get a free dragon every single turn. So it's a cool concept overall. The idea of magical shamans that can link up with dragons is like, that's massively cool fantasy right there, right? So that's the next card we're going to look at as well is also a human shaman. So up until the spoiler card we're going to talk about, I should say, today, it's just been human shamans that are capable of this linking with and summoning up dragons, right? That's just how it operates. Other than that, the only cards that actually make dragons the only other cards that make dragon tokens are dragons and Sarkhan. So those aren't part of this conversation because dragons are dragons and they're crazy special. Sarkhan's a planeswalker, he's crazy special. We're looking at it from a perspective of more insignificant everyday humans. They're clearly still a cut above because they figured out how to connect with dragons. But either way, let's take a look at the next human that we have here, and that's the Dragon Whisperer. So instead of whispering to the dogs, you whisper into dragons. Much better choice. So this is 2 mana for a 2/2. I like how you had 1 mana for a 1/1, 2 mana for a 2/2. But anyways, 2 mana for a 2/2 human shaman. Pay 1 red, Dragon Whisperer gains flying until end of turn. Pay a red and 1, Dragon Whisperer gets +1/+0 until end of turn. And it's got Formidable, and what it does in this case is basically the formidable part is the restriction where you have to have a total number of powers. So how it works is 2 red and 4. Put a 4/4 red dragon creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Activate this ability only if creatures you control have total power 8 or greater. It's a little bit weird, but in cons they had that whole like power matters kind of dynamic going on. Now the concept behind the Dragon Whisperer is at first glance you go, okay, you know what, maybe this isn't quite as powerful as the Dragon Master Outcast, but from a flavor perspective, it feels like it ties more into somebody who's really in tune with the dragons, right? Because the Dragon Whisperer has already learned how to gain flight, and red flying is rare. You only find like flying on red in most cases either on dragons or goofy little goblin cards that aren't very good, right? So there's a wide gulf between those. You have powerful flying dragons and a lot of like janky little like 2/1 flyers that don't really care, like that one goblin who grabs onto the birds like, look at me, mom, I'm flying, you know, like that kind of nonsense. So this is a human shaman who's learned how to fly using red mana, kind of tapping into the concept of the dragons, and also how to breathe fire like a dragon, which is really cool, right? Like both of those come across as a dragon concept. And you don't actually technically have to have any other creatures out to be able to activate the Formidable ability, because what you can do is you can just keep activating the fire-breathing pump ability, which admittedly would cost a lot of mana, but either way, you can keep activating that ability until the Dragon Whisperer herself has 8 power, at which point, then you'll be able to activate and make a dragon token. Now, yeah, I mean, that's going to cost you, what, like 20 mana, which is a ton of mana, but still, the idea is that you just on their own, the Dragon Whisperer can build up enough power that they can gain the respect of a dragon. So the dragons on Tarkir, they're only going to respect power. So the Dragon Whisperer is basically just going to become so powerful that another dragon comes along and is like, you know what? Actually, I'm down with you. Let's do this. And then what's cool about that is once you have a dragon token, that dragon token counts towards the total of power that you have, right? So now all of a sudden, if you made a 4/4 red dragon token and you have the Dragon Whisperer, now you have 6 power. So you're only 2 power away, which means it costs less mana to pump up the Dragon Whisperer and have enough mana to make another token. And from a flavor perspective, that's like a dragon coming along and seeing, oh, you've already got a dragon on your side, you must be powerful. Like, it automatically lends credibility to the individual, or a little modicum of respect, however you want to look at it. A dragon is going to go, okay, another dragon has already deemed you a worthy master. And then as you go, once you've got 2 dragons, then it's smooth sailing from there. It's really easy. You just do the 6 mana, bam, dragon, 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 right? So this is a shaman who earns the respect of the dragons through their magical capabilities and emulating a dragon, right? It's like, I'm basically like you, right? Whereas the card we're going to talk about today, the new spoiler card, is Dragonkin Berserker. So Dragonkin Berserker is 1 red and 1 for a 2/2 with first strike. It has boast abilities you activate, cost 1 less to activate for each dragon you control. The first time I read that, I actually thought this only counted the boast ability for the Dragonkin Berserker, but it actually counts for every creature you have with boast, which is more powerful than I thought. And the boast ability is where this gets nuts. 1 red and 4, create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. Activate this ability only if this creature attacked this turn, and only once each turn. So each turn, once a turn, you're able to create a dragon token. Now, obviously that is with the restriction that you have to attack with the Dragonkin Berserker, and that does limit the power level in terms of, like, the Dragon Master Outcast, for example. You can put it out, shove it in the corner, especially if you have some way to like give it untargetability or something like that to make it a little more resilient. You can put it off to the side and your opponent has very little recourse. It's not like it's swinging into combat and you have the ability to block and destroy it, right? So the Dragonkin Berserker is more difficult to keep alive and have him thrive and make tokens. So there is that. In one respect, he's not going to be as powerful as the Dragon Master Outcast, which is fine. In another respect, this is a human berserker. This isn't a shaman where he's like, okay, I'm going to use magic to connect with the dragons or anything like that. This is literally, like, you want to talk about dragons respecting strength like they did on Tarkir? This is a whole nother level. This Dragonkin Berserker, he's not using a bunch of magic, right? To me, these dragons are showing up as a result of his actual martial prowess and strength. These dragons are so impressed by this particular, like, style of human being, because he's not legendary, right? So there can be multiple of these Dragonkin Berserkers. They could be a whole clan. It could be a clan that they made the dragons so impressed with them that they made some kind of pact with the dragons. Whatever it is, if you look at the Berserker himself, he's got like a tattoo on his shoulder, and it looks like he and the dragon have the same kind of tattooing. The dragon is like rising up beside him. I like that it's just the dragon's neck, right? Because it makes the Berserker's 2/2, which is bigger than a lot of humans, but much smaller than the dragon. So it gives it that size of, like, that feeling of immensity, but because the Berserker is kind of hunched down with his head up like that, it's almost like him and the dragon are in the same kind of movement. It gives a feeling of unity across the artwork, and the idea of dragons with these crazy throat tattoos that probably run all the way down along their underside and might even, like, go across different parts of their bodies. That's a really, really cool concept for a dragon. Imagine a flight of those overhead and you could see all the runic, like, engraving kind of stuff in their body. I'm not 100% sure what that's supposed to represent, but the connection between the Berserker and the dragon is awesome. And again, we have a scenario where each dragon you get on board makes it easier to gain the respect and aid of further dragons, because each dragon you have out lets your boasting cost reduce. And I love from the flavor perspective that all your boasty boys get a bonus because there's a bunch of dragons on their side. So they just get, like, the more dragons that show up, the more your entire squad gets just swagger and they're just bragging on what's going on. Yeah, boy, we're the best squad. Like, that is some awesome, awesome flavor. So the idea of a human berserker that is just through, like, power of might is getting dragons on board, that's impressive in a whole nother way. Like, how does that even start? How do you become one of these Dragonkin berserkers? Do you have to go out and, like, wrestle dragons into submission? If you ever play Dungeons and Dragons, there's two ways to handle dragons. You can try and destroy them, or you can try and subdue them. Subduing them was much harder, but then you could earn their respect and get them to serve you, or in some cases not earn their respect and just force them to serve you anyways. But either way, this is such a cool concept as a card, right? And it doesn't feel like it's too strong because it has to swing. Do you know what I mean? Like, it has to swing in to make the token. And I like that because it kind of ties into the berserker aspect of it as well. If you want to gain the respect of the dragons, you have to be fearless. You have to charge in with no concern. And the fact that you're just willing to do that and your martial prowess makes the dragons go, I'm with this guy. And that is awesome to me. So, my friends, I'm going to end this off with a big thank you to my patrons. Thanks for supporting my channel. Here's a link to my newest lore video. See you guys next time.